good to go. It is Friday, 5 o'clock on the East Coast. 5:04? Yeah, apologies, a few minutes late. Nonstop Mlb Dfs conversation, taking y'all straight up the lock, 2 hours plus. Yielding the Crunch Time crew about 6:15 on the East Coast. You got Dave Potts, two-time winner. Cheeseisgood. Cheap Enerologist Kevin Roth holding it down, and also letting you all know if anything's going down weather-wise, precipitation-wise. And I believe Tim, TastefulTides, the single game 3 entry max specialist, also will be on the Crunch Time show. Shout out to Dave. We'll talk about that in a second. He had an awesome homer call yesterday. Joining me today, 3-man booth. We teased this earlier in the week. I'm super excited. It was on my calendar. We have Kid Yahoo, Chris Kirkwood. We have another 2-time millionaire winner. We have a Head Chopper Fitz back, returning champion. Chop, he cannot get enough. He hit the quota. He's on for 2 shows this week. Chop, how was Friday treating you? We're all good or what?
Friday's okay. I mean, it is what it is, Dean. All the days kind of blend in together now, so I don't know. Dean. I don't know what we're doing. I'm just looking forward to later on in the show when we get, I don't know if we're going to get any, what is it, Tim's Tits? Any good home run calls from Tim?
Well, I don't know if he agrees with that segment.
That's the name of his segment. We've been, and Dean's gonna reveal Dean's dinglings. Is that what it is?
Well, wow. Technically it's dongs, but in context, it doesn't sound nearly as bad the way you're framing it. Nuance in context matters. But
you know what I'm saying.
If you hit that like button enough, hit that like button, chat, subscribe, turn on those notifications, do all the things, hit all the buttons. What was that, Kirkwood?
I don't know, Dean's Dinglings. We could do a Kirk's Diddlers or something like that.
Well, it's got to fit the alliteration. You have to have something that starts with unless you're going to go with a C or a K. I'm not sure. Not telling you to do it. It's your thing. It's your gimmick. Feel free to come up with be as creative as you want to be. But, the chat, I'm sure, would give you some suggestions. They like to suggest and chime in. Feel free to let them know what should Kirkwood's, home run gimmick be. They be creative. Maybe they'll give you something that you can work with.
Look at the StreamYard screen and you'll find out.
D's dongs.
Yeah.
That doesn't work for you though, does it? I don't think it does.
Of course it
does.
Does.
Oh, Kirk D's. Okay, yeah, it took me a second. All right, yeah, fair enough. Does anybody actually call you D's though?
Oh, everybody. A lot. You'd be surprised how many people call me D's.
In the secret chat that I'm not invited to, is that where everybody calls you D's?
First of all, a lot of people do because it's Kirk D's, so they just say D's. Like Andy Means always does that. But, I walk down the street and people call me D's, D's nuts, things.
I don't believe any of that. And I don't think you're just walking down the street. You're staying home a lot these days. Yeah.
I walk a baby and I walk a dog, Dean. So these things I have to get out there.
Maybe they're talking to the dog. I don't know. You got to ask for clarification. All right, we have a fun show today.
Excited to be here. This is the ultimate. When you see it's me and Chop together, this gets excited. I can't wait to see what kind of curveball he's going to try to throw me under the bus somewhere. But it's always a good time.
Yeah, at
Celtics
some point,
season last year. I left the secret chat because I couldn't take the Celtics. These people are there's a bunch of haters in there, a bunch of Celtics haters. They can't see it themselves, but
are you you root for the Celtics, I assume, tonight? Yes. Are you financially motivated to root for the Celtics?
Yes, I am.
You have them for the entire season, because right now I've got
them every which way you could ever imagine. I've got season, Eastern Conference. I've got them this series. I've got tonight. Yes. And so I'm hoping
have you seen people on Twitter talk about how they're like frauds.
I don't care. I know I have. I've got blind. I'm focused on the end goal right now. I'm not listening.
You got blinders
there. The only thing that I want to look out for is a tweet from Steve that says, "I took the Sixers. Why did I take the Sixers tonight?" And then I know I got a lock on my hands.
That's producer Steve you're referring to. Now, who do you think is the bigger mush? I know you like to have fun, and people like to have fun that I'm a mush somehow, but we've seen the stats. It's not true. But you only acknowledge it when it actually happens. With the rare time it does, and otherwise ignore. Let's pretend like it wasn't said. Who's the bigger mush, myself or producer Steve?
You, Bart. It's not even a contest.
All right. And shout out to Bobby Gomes. Bobby must be excited because a little bit less traffic in Boston these days.
What a traitor. Unbelievable.
Rooting against the hometown team because there's too much traffic outside because the Bruins keep winning. Is he feeling the same way about the Celtics? I've not got an official ruling on that, but they play in the same building, right? I believe they do.
You'd think that he would like it too for like restaurant business, a little extra restaurant business and things like that. He owns a big Italian spot over here. Good restaurant.
There you go. Is that where you if you go there, does he pick up the tab? Does he hook that up for you?
I've been there once when he picked for the whole thing. When he picked up the whole tab, I went. He set me up. He let me took Lauren out to a little dinner one night, and it was all they wouldn't take my money. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Look at you, Chop. How are anything else you want to say before we dive in and talk about tonight's slate? 11 gamer.
Yeah, Dean. All I would say is, in all seriousness, it's I'm glad Milwaukee fired Budenholzer. It was a few games too late, but I think that's a good move right there, Dean.
A few games too late. They should have fired him in game 3 in the middle of the series.
Yeah, they should have
fired your head coach.
No, seriously, he dealt with some rough circumstances, but I think this team kind of underachieved for the most part, most of these years. So I think Milwaukee will come back strong next year.
Well, Giannis says that you can't be a failure. I don't know if you remember that quote he was saying, which, by the way, I'm kind of paraphrasing incorrectly. It was actually really, really well done, and he was kind of but I also disagree with his point, if that makes sense. I thought he made some great points, but I don't think it was a bad point. And you can't be the number 1 seed losing the first round. It is an overall failure. It just is. That's what it is. You can give reasons as to why it happened, but the season was a failure. The Sacramento Kings, their season was not a failure, right? They invigorated an entire fan base. It's been asleep for 18 years. Different conversation. But the Coach Bud thing, kind of a scapegoat. I think kind of a scapegoat.
I don't think so.
I think he's fine. Who are they going to replace him with? And all of a sudden, it's going to change things around. And we don't know if Middleton's coming
honestly,
back.
You could have replaced him with anybody, and I think that the team typically would have done better year in and year out. But whatever.
I don't think they're that good. I was not scared of them at all this season. I
think they had the best roster in the NBA.
We demolished. I mean, then you're clearly living in a different world.
I mean, what's not to like about? You can't
tell me Celtics roster versus the Bucks roster. I mean, you think Joe Ingles?
I'd probably take the Bucks. I think the best. Who's the best player in that series? Then?
Pat Connaughton. Yeah, they have one. Great player.
He goes after Joe Ingles and Pat Connaughton, ignoring Giannis.
Like that. No, it's all about depth. That's what it is. It's all about depth. That's why the Suns aren't winning. That's why they got rid of Mikal Bridges. And that I haven't been.
I think when you get to the playoffs, you don't need as much depth. You don't need as much depth.
You need 5 guys.
Chop crowned the Suns champions earlier. Don't let them fool you.
The problem with the Suns, they don't have 5 guys. They have 3.
Yeah, well, they've got 2. 5 they've got 2 guys. They've got 2 guys. So that's on them. But I like the way the Bucks are constructed, man. It's hard to find a 7-footer who shoots 3-pointers and plays defense like Lopez and the MVP. And I love their backcourt. I don't know if Middleton's back, but he's been there and he's been good. So, and Drew's really good. I like the way I just think they're perennially underachieved. And I think you could replace him with anybody and they'll be better. But that's not the point, Dean. The point is somebody's going to get a game changer in Wembanyama.
Who's that now?
Wembanyama. Somebody's going to get a game changer, Dean. I'm hoping it's the Rockets to get the ping pong balls because
oh, man.
We got us a coach now.
Who is the Rockets? Oh, you got the old Boston coach, right?
Yeah.
Udoka.
Well,
Udoka.
Guy can't help him. Just wait till the road trip. The guy can't help himself.
All right. We will now segue into the baseball.
You should see the local stories about him.
I
mean, I'm sure there's local stories on a lot of people. Why don't you call out Babe Ruth while you're at it?
You don't get the rule number 1 in life. This is Mama Kirkwood instilled this upon me as a young child. You don't dip your pen in office ink. You don't do that. It's and you can tell a lot.
When did she teach that to you? Like what year? How old were you?
I mean, it's all through the teens and up. It's always. And she used to say,
right.
"Sow your oats." It's important to sow your oats. She used to say.
I just know that from coming to America. He had to sow his royal oats, and that's where I learned that term from. But all right, let's talk about tonight's 11-game slate. No cores, thankfully. The ice cold St. Louis Cardinals finally get a lefty they can pick on. We have a collection of pitchers that are all like some good pitchers, but none that are like perfect as far as their situation. I'm really curious. I want to hear you guys talk this out because this is another one of those slates where I'm pretty open to some of my pitchers. Max Fried, good price on DK, better real life pitcher than he is as far as DFS. The Ks aren't spectacular, but he should be pretty good. He's getting the most ownership, and that's the thing. Ownership's pretty flat, guys. Max Fried's 25% on DK, Wheeler 24, Luis Castillo 22, Burns 21. Of course, Corbin Burns has been pretty bad by his standards. Sean Manaea, also really bad by his standards, but he's super, super cheap as an SP2. Is getting 19% ownership. Jordan Montgomery against Detroit. You prefer righties against them, but still, Detroit's not very good, getting 19%. It's all really, really flat. Christian Javier getting 14%, Sale getting 14%. Do you have any standouts here, Chop, or just your general screenshot as far as this slate? What's standing out to you? What's worth acknowledging before we kind of dive in from a pitching perspective first, and then we'll jump in and talk about some stacks later on in the show.
What are we doing? Screenshot? Pictures?
Whatever's on your mind. Give me an overall screenshot, and then we can kind of segue into pictures.
Overall screenshot. Yeah, I don't know, Dean. It's just how many games we got here? 11 big
11?
games. I mean, that's a lot. It's a Friday night. So honestly, in baseball, it's like, the games, how many games there are dictate kind of how you play, how I play a lot, when we're talking about like 5, 6, 7 games, I can play a certain way with stacking and not stacking and that kind of stuff. And you get up to 11 games and you're just throwing stuff against the wall, Dean, because there's just going to be some crazy stuff happen. So I don't know. I don't really a screenshot. Pitching isn't overly exciting. You can spread it out and hitting. I don't think there's a particularly monster stack that stands out, like there has been, like there's not like this big Coors Field or Mexico City game or anything like that. So I just think it's a lot of do whatever you want here tonight. This is going to be, we can get into some specifics later, but I don't really have a particular game plan headed into this slate.
I think was there 4 or 5 teams or so just above 5 as far as totals. Kansas City above 5 against Kyle Muller, one of the worst pitchers, if not the worst pitcher on the slate, backed up by definitively what's been so far the historically awful bullpen out of Oakland. Atlanta's got a 5 total as well, facing Dean Kramer, also not spectacular. The Cardinals, it was 5 earlier. I think it dropped. They're just under 5 against Matt Boyd. Historically, the Cardinals absolutely pummel the lefties. And then Tyler Anderson is back. Is going to be pitching for the Angels. They have a 5 total against Texas. Dane Dunning, I think, is expected to throw the fewest amount of pitches amongst tonight's starting pitchers. Kirkwood, where are you at as far as starting pitching, or just like screenshot overall? How I think Kansas City's going to be popular. They're really, really cheap. No Bobby Witt, though, which was interesting. I'm not sure what happened to him. I assume it's just a day off. I didn't see an injury. But Witt being out certainly is pretty significant. That lineup falls off really, really quickly, especially the back end's pretty rough. But they're also super, super cheap. What do you have here, Kirkwood? Your general screenshot as far as a slate, and then let's dive in and talk about some pitchers.
The screenshot is just that this slate is wide open, right? Like you guys nailed it. I mean, you said there's like nobody's in like a perfect spot anywhere. You've got some really talented pitchers, which makes the offenses on the other side not very desirable. We've got a couple of good hitting spots, but then we have like a bunch of pitchers, like I said, that are really good, but it's just they're up against tough offenses, bad strikeout matchups, things like that. So I think it's just wide open. So, there's a lot of different ways you can go on this slate.
You're building your main lineup. Is there a pitcher you absolutely feel like you have to have, or it's just like 2 of these guys or one of these guys, whichever one fits with the offense that you kind of lock yourself into? Or how flexible are you when it comes to your main lineup? I know a lot of times you make one main lineup. Is it you're definitely going to play Freed, you're definitely going to play Castillo, or it's like I want to get one or two of these 5 guys?
No, so I'm like fine with like a bunch of different pitchers. So I'll start who I like the best. So we're talking DraftKings here. I think Max Fried is obviously just too cheap. I think, what's interesting about Baltimore, and I know some delusional Baltimore fans out there that are diehards, I think like this is their year, is that they haven't played anybody good. They've beaten up on the Detroit Tigers 9 times or something like that. They've played the KC Royals a bunch. And against teams with a winning record, they're either except for Texas, which they're 2-1 against. They're 3-3 against the Red Sox, and they're 1-2 against the Yankees. Anyone with a winning record, they haven't even been good against. So they're beating up the Tigers. Everyone's crowning them like this is their year. But they've got a guy on the hill tonight, Mean Dean Kramer, who I think Chop and I both agree we'd probably roster Mean Dean Shevelson for the same price here, don't you think?
How much is this Mean Dean Shevelson character? What's his BABIP?
It's not good.
Tell me more about this character.
Say that.
It's not good.
Why
is he mean? Just because his name is. Go ahead.
Dean, we don't have much time here. So anyway, I think Fried is, you take what it's given. I think the Orioles, their offense is okay. I think it's been, it's not as good as everyone thinks it is. So Fried at home. The problem is with him now, there's an extreme hitters ump in that game. Now I worry that much less. So like the way I look at umpires, it's like when you have like a guy like Hunter Brown, who's like this Chop, we'll say this as an Astros guy, who's like got all the talent in the world, young kid, raw, but like electric stuff. You give him an extreme hitters ump and he can lose his mind out there really quickly, right? He doesn't know how to handle that kind of stuff. A guy like Max Fried, like his whole game is like command and pinpointing his spots and executing that. And he's been down this block before. So I don't worry so much about him with the extreme hitters ump. If it's a young rookie with, things like that, I worry more about it. I love the Atlanta offense against Dean Kramer with an extreme hitters ump. And also, they're my number 1 offense on the slate. But so I'll take what DraftKings can give me and I'll play. I think he's a fine play. I know he's going to be chalky, but that's fine. I know a lot of people are on Castillo. I'm not. I think he's great. I'm not so high again picking on Houston. I'm not so high with Zach Wheeler picking on Boston. Corbin Burns I can get behind, especially if he doesn't pick up a bunch of ownership. Jordan Montgomery is fine. I think the wheels are falling off right now in St. Louis. They're just really going through a rough patch here. So, that plays in my thought. Chris Sale is like the ultimate roller coaster. I actually like him, and I'm like anti-Chris Sale. I've always said I've been out on him ever since he got that belly button ring, and he's been tough. But like he threw 98 miles per hour in his last game, which we have not seen. His fastball and slider were good. The problem was he needs his changeup, and his changeup wasn't working in that start. If he puts if he's throwing heat like that, his slider and commanding his slider and his changeup is actually, he can throw it for strikes. He's going to throw up a monster game. That's just the way he is. But he could, he's the perfect guy that you also stack against, right? Like at the same time. And also you downgrade him a little when he's going to be super chalk. I don't think he's going to be popular tonight, but people
he's not super chalk. There's no super chalk.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm cool with the roller coaster with him. I think that, he could, it's personally, I'm loading up on the Celtics. I might as well go for the double Philly barrel here and Chris Sale.
11 strikeouts and 0 strikeouts. Yeah.
Yeah. Javier, we got Senga, who I'm high on Senga in this matchup. I know he's been rough, and it's for people are going to be against him because of his walk rate, which has been ridiculous. It's like 15% or something. But I think tonight is the night where he rights the ship. He's got a 27.5% K percentage. He's got at least 6 strikeouts in 4 of his last starts. He's playing the Rockies, who are just pathetic away from cores. They're ranked 7th in K percentage outside of cores against right-handed pitching. They're 25th in ISO. They've got an awful WRC plus too, and they don't walk a ton either. So I think this is a perfect matchup. Let me check if we got any umpire news on him.
Yeah, you definitely want an umpire to help him out because he walks too many guys.
He's got a pitcher's ump. He's got a pitcher's ump. So I say this is the time to play him tonight.
Yeah, Sale, by the way, he has an extreme umpire. You mentioned Chris Sale, extreme pitchers umpire, Doug Eddings, as well as Zach Wheeler on the other side. By the way, you know, people have like home and road splits. Is there pre and post as far as the belly button ring? And is he still rocking it, or did he ditch it at some point? Do we know? Or you got an official word? You have a guy boots in the ground there in Boston?
I just lost a lot of faith in him at that point in time. You miss a playoff game because of an infection for your belly button ring. Like, come on.
Does that really happen? Is that true?
That's Bush League, right?
That's the reason. I mean, they couldn't make up an excuse, like say, like fell on his bike or something. Is that what they actually said? That's a real story. I don't remember that.
It's a real story.
I remember he had one. I didn't realize it was infected. But the umpire stuff, as always, we kind of say with new series that are starting, not official, but these are the projected umpires. This is what we have. Sometimes, occasionally, it will change. But what we have right now, like a lot of them right now are not officially in. But we do have extreme hitters umpire for Brad Keller, extreme hitters umpire for Max Fried, for Kyle Muller, which, you know, that game on both sides, it feels like it's a pretty good offensive game. Dean Kramer, we talked about Max Fried. Dean Kramer, of course, as extreme hitters umpire as well. One extreme pitchers umpire is with the aforementioned Chris Sale and Zach Wheeler. Chop. I will ask the same question to you. Or actually, are you making you're having some fun tonight? You're making like 150, 100 lineups, 2 lineups, 1 lineup, depending on what you're doing. And like your sort of main lineup, is there a pitcher like you're saying, this is the pitcher I want in my main lineup, and I'm going to figure out around that person, or this pairing, if you're playing on DK or Yahoo, or you're rostering 2, or it's like 2 of these 4, 2 of these 5, whichever one work with the offenses I built.
See, on Fanduel, I'll run a bunch of lineups, and I'm going to spread out the pitching. Nobody really stands out. On Draftkings, it'll be a couple of lineups, and I wouldn't say that there's some main guy I want to build around. If you're asking me who my favorite is right now, honestly, right now it's probably Luis Castillo. But
picking on your Astros,
that's not really saying much. There's just not a lot of. I just don't love a lot here. 'Cause like when I look at the last I checked, the highest projected pitcher on the whole slate according to the bat, Max Fried. I'll pass on that. Like, I'll have him with some lineups on FanDuel, but he's a pitch to soft contact guy who has like 5 different pitches. He's trying to confuse the hitters a little. He's just not a huge strikeout guy, so I don't need that necessarily in DFS. Right? I want to chase after somebody with some major upside. Castillo, he has that. Chris Sale could have that. Of course, things could go south with Chris Sale. Senga is pretty good. And believe it or not, I mean, still, was looking at it earlier as far as strikeouts this year. Yeah, I can't believe we're in 2023 and we're still getting Clayton Kershaw just mowing guys down, man. Second highest strikeout rate on this whole slate this year. So, and you're not getting much hard contact against him either. So, he's awesome. But I guess the moral of that is all I see is a bunch of really expensive guys. I think that's the range I want to be in tonight. I don't want to take too many chances on the lower end guys. Maybe in some tournaments, maybe a few guys, but yeah, I think the high end is where I want to live.
21.4% K% for Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler is number 1 on this slate. You mentioned Kershaw number 2 this season, specifically in K%, 28.5, and Luis Castillo. Do you know how many guys Corbin Burns is ahead of? That you referenced this, Kirkwood, and I want to get some clarity because you mentioned Burns, and I don't know what to do with him, right? Because he's not pitching like the guy we expect, the guy he was coming into the season, former either a Cy Young winner or close to a Cy Young winner, right? Just a top 5 pitcher in all of baseball. It's just spectacular. And this year, it's just the Ks are way down, 19.7%. Swinging strike rate suggests he's probably getting a little bit unlucky, 11.9% there. But, Sierra's not good. It's actually worse than his ERA. His ERA is 4.01, Sierra 4.49. He was lucky as far as homer in the fly ball, just 10.7%. Lucky as far as BABIP, 2.58. So it's like should be worse technically for Burns. Kirkwood, the official take here as far as Corbin Burns, you mentioned him, and I don't know what to do with him. It's sort of my official take, but if I'm playing a bunch of lineups, he's in the mix for sure. But my confidence is taking a hit. Let's say that with Burns. What do you have, Kirkwood?
Well, all right. So I understand why people are down on him, right? Like he hasn't had the best go around so far. He does have a really, really strong start against Arizona. He did look pretty good in his last start against the Angels. In his last start against the Angels, he had 5 Ks. You know, he got 15 whiffs, which is good. 30% called strike whiff, only 1 earned run, but his cutter, which is a really big pitch for him, always has been, which it wasn't working. It shined in this last start. So I think he's just like, it's just taking him a little time to come around. So, and if we go back to last season with this season, obviously his numbers stand out, right? Like he has the second highest K percentage on the slate. But if we look at just this year, you know, like you said, things are down. He's down to like 13th on the slate, but I think he's riding the ship. I think that tonight's a good spot for him. So I'm like it. Everything is. It's if you got a feeling on a guy tonight and you want to take a stab, like pitcher's wide open. There is no perfect pitcher tonight that like we really have to be scared of to bury us. I think there's a lot of variance involved in a lot of these guys, and I'm going to go with the track record and the signs to him, you know, coming out of this and going back to his dominant self.
You have an official take, Kirkwood, as far as Josiah Gray. He looks like he's like turning into the prospect everybody wanted him to be. I don't know how much I love the idea of picking in Arizona. Arizona pretty contact heavy. I don't think we have the official lineup just yet, but the projected lineup, 19% as far as striking out. You know, last season, of course, he gave so much power, too many walks, but he seems to be right in the ship, and he's cheap. I saw somebody in chat mention him as well. He's not somebody I'm going to prioritize. But if I'm running a bunch of lineups, Kirkwood, can we get behind a little bit of Josiah Gray?
No doubt. I'm on board with him. I've been on board his last start against the Pirates, who have been a lot pestered than people. I mean, they're the feel good story in baseball right now. But I have him right up there on the slate. First of all, he's been going deep, 105 pitches. He had a 37% called strike whiff on his fastball. He was locating it in great spots all game. I love this kid going forward. I think he's obviously their best arm, in my opinion, and I think he's just going to keep getting better. So it's a little bit of a tough matchup, potentially, for him. I mean, Arizona at home can be pesky, and then they can run the bases and do a lot of things. But yeah, he's too cheap. 6.4K. I bet if he fits my lineup, I mean, I'm not prioritizing him like I have to play him, but I have no problem playing him.
Arizona lineup just came out, by the way. Rojas, Marte, Carroll, Walker, Smith, Fletcher, Moreno, Thomas, and Perdomo. Kirkwood, Chop said something interesting talking about. He said, Fried's not going to be the top scorer in the slate. I think he can be. He's projected to be, but, he's more of a contact guy, ground ball guy, doesn't give up homers, can go deep into the game if his pitching, if he's efficient, obviously. I think he's going to be in the podium, though, like top 3 pitchers. I think Fried's going to be there. I don't know if he's going to be number 1. If you had to pick, just shooting for ceiling, who's going to be the top scoring pitcher on this slate?
Chris Sale.
There you go. Belly button, no belly button, doesn't matter. You don't care. He's going to be a top scoring pitcher in the slate.
This is all about the Philly beatdown tonight.
So it's personal. You don't like Philadelphia, is what you're saying.
I see something. I see it all. I can visualize it. Well, if the Celtics lose, Sale is going to get crushed. That's how it's going to work. But anyway,
there's no correlation to that.
Roller coaster. I think he can. If the fact that he threw 98 and he didn't have his changeup, if he can just get the changeup, and he's got an extreme pitcher's ump tonight, which is great for him. If he can, it's all about command with him. I mean, that slider is tough to hit. But if he's getting it called for strikes and he's getting his changeup called for strikes, and his heater is buzzing at 98, then he should have a good start. So he's my guy for upside. I could see Corbin Burns against San Francisco doing the same thing. I could see, the Giants strike out a ton. I could also see Christian Javier. I'd like Chop's opinion on him. He's more of the Astros guy to keep up. But, Seattle, I think they're third highest. They're a tough matchup for sure, but they're also the third highest strikeouts versus right-handed pitching.
Chopper, Javier?
He's looked better lately than he did to start the year. He's shown a little bit of that upside in some of his recent games. Yeah, he's just one of those guys that when he has it clicking that night, he could definitely be the best pitcher on this slate. It is a tough matchup. I don't particularly like this matchup very much for him. So on the road like this, I'll have him sparingly, but he's always a threat, man, when he gets it working.
Just got San Diego's lineup. Tatis, Machado, Soto, Bogarts, Cruz, Cronenworth, Kim, Nola, and Grisham. So I think that's as projected, unless I miss something. I'm pretty sure that is what we are expecting. Do want to say what's up again to the chat. Kindly join the conversation. If we're not talking about the picture you want us to talk about, feel free to throw them out. We'll talk about stacks in a second. Whatever's on your mind, whatever we're not talking about, or just say, call somebody out. That's a bad take. Tell us why it's a bad take. Want to hear it? See TJ in chat as well. What's up, TJ? He's not in the show tonight, but he is still lurking. He may be playing a little bit of PS5 as well, I presume, the show. He's going to be dropping his Spidey Bombs every 50 likes. Not sure where we're at as far as likes, but we're at 50. We should be at by 50 at this point. Not egregious. It's embarrassing. I can't even look myself in the mirror. Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. TJ is going to start firing off those Spidey Bombs momentarily. Spidey does not rest, despite the fact that TJ is off today. Kirkwood, your boy Don Yeezy wants to know Kelly or Keller on DK.
Oh, God, this guy. This is how he rolls. This is how he likes pain. He lives for the. Doesn't shock me at all. Yeah. I actually like the A's stack tonight. I'm not a big Keller guy. I just don't think he has much. It would be Merrill. If I had to, it would be Merrill Kelly over Brad Keller. But I'm not playing either.
I would too, but we don't have to. That's the thing. But I would too. I agree with you, but that's not where I'm at. Mr. Gerg wants to know, why isn't anybody playing Manaea? He's pretty cheap, but I don't totally get it. Manaea this whole season, I don't understand. They signed him to a 2-year deal there, and he didn't make the starting rotation, and he was coming in and playing middle reliever, an inning here and an inning there. It's just sort of odd the way they've handled him this year. And also, to be fair, he's not been great. I think he got his face punched in to some degree in Mexico City, but that's to be expected the way that ballpark, the way that elevation was lined up. But probably not somebody I'm gravitating to it, not at 20% ownership. Do you have a take here as far as Manaea? And I want to like Manaea, but the numbers suggest I probably shouldn't. Yeah, Kirkwood, you have a thought as far as Manaea?
Nah, I just don't.
Yeah.
Well, the positives is that the Brewers have absolutely been horrific against left-handed pitching. Even though they have a bunch of platoon guys that they like to throw out there, but none of them have hit during, it nullifies Yelich. Adames hasn't been hitting them. Contreras is probably their best overall against them. Brasso, for some reason they've just been terrible. I don't really believe that. I believe they're going to normalize and go back to where they are, and these guys should be able to be good platoon hitters. But so that's going for them. They do strike out. I'm just not. And you can throw away his last start in Mexico City, that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
But I just don't see the need. He's cheap. He's 5.6K. So if you need it, if you're, there's worse plays out there, but I don't need it personally.
Should have mentioned Montgomery pitching for St. Louis. We kind of mentioned him in passing, 20% as far as the Ks dating back to last season. That's fine. The walks are really good. 5.3% is a good control guy. This Detroit lineup, not as strikeout heavy against lefties, but still 23% strikeouts. Chop, your thoughts as far as Montgomery And also they're asking, and I didn't mean to neglect it, what I ask is specific to Fanduel, where you got to roster one pitcher only, and ownership, again, pretty flat. 18% for Wheeler, 14% for Castillo, 13% for Fried, Burns getting 10, Senga getting 7, Montgomery 6. Chop, I know you play on Fanduel a fair bit. Do you have a lean there as far as your favorite pitcher, if it was like single entry, your favorite pitcher on Fanduel, and your take as far as Montgomery specifically?
For Montgomery against Detroit, like I'd have to, I probably need to look into who's in that lineup for Detroit. I didn't see it before I came on there, but he's like 80% off-speed pitching is what Montgomery does. Like, how does Detroit react to that? I don't know how. I'd have to look and see.
It's all righties. It's got 9 righties. Check out the plate IQ, Chopper. I know you have.
Not plate IQ, not right. I'm talking about those specific hitters against off-speed pitching. Like some guys crush fastball, some guys are really bad against. Like that's what Montgomery does, all off-speed. So, do I want Montgomery tonight? He doesn't. He's not a huge strikeout guy. It's a decent matchup. He's just in the middle. There's nothing that jumps out to him. I'm not going to X him out on my player pool, but I'm certainly not like running to play. He's not my must start. Going back to Manaea had like that one good start this year. Everything else has been garbage, man. So little known fact here, true fact. His expected weighted on base out of all these pitchers, he's the worst expected weighted on base of all these pitchers tonight. He's just not particularly. But with that being said, you're
dropping X-Woba on us? Is that what you're doing, Chop? X-Woba?
With that being said, Dean, he's actually on this slate. He's also like a top 8 strikeout guy. So who knows? I mean, I don't know. He's super cheap, like Kirk said. So I don't know. But going to a Fanduel, who's my favorite Fanduel tonight? One pitcher.
Yeah,
I think I probably got to stick with. I said Castillo a little while ago. I don't really know why. It's kind of expensive on FanDuel, but like I said, I kind of want to hang out in the expensive range. Kershaw, the matchup with San Diego, he's been good, but San Diego is getting tougher and tougher with that lineup. Senga's pretty good. Maybe it'd be Senga, but it'd be between Senga and Castillo. FanDuel.
Senga's like pitching against himself, right? Like because he just walks too many guys. If he has decent control, Colorado, I assume he hasn't.
He's a little bit cheaper over there. He's a tad bit cheaper over there than the other guys, so maybe that's it.
And your Astros right now, they're just not very good, right? Is that basically, it's 2 guys that are really good, the 2 lefties, obviously the 2 boppers, Jordan and Tucker, and otherwise it's not great. You're still missing Altuve. Jose Abreu is like falling off a cliff. It's not been good. I don't know if it's coming back. We'll see. But that Houston lineup is not as scary as I thought it would be. Just kind of digging in. I like Castillo a good bit. And Wheeler, we get an official clarification. Where are we at as far as Wheeler, Chopper?
I mean, I don't mind. I know it's a tough matchup, and I know that he's expensive, but yeah, I don't mind him. I don't mind him tonight. He's not like he's got the highest strikeout rate on the slate. There's something about him you gotta like. So he's in the mix. Doesn't like jump off the page any more than the other guys I've mentioned, but he's fine. Boston can be tough, but he's at home and he's all right. So he's okay to me.
Kirkwood, I know you don't like advanced stats, like small sample of advanced stats, but yeah, Abreu, hard hit percentage 34%, barrel percent 25%, average exit velocity 23%. His ISO dating back to last season versus righties 118. Is he 35, 36? Is it over, Kirkwood? Is it over for Abreu? Was it a good run? Is that it? It's done, right? I think it's done. I'm calling it.
No, it's not done. You saw he just needs a cocktail is what he needs.
That's not available. You're talking like a rum and coke, I'm sure.
Maybe whatever works for him. But you saw what a guy like Pujols did last season. I don't think it's over. I think he'll snap out of it. I think he'll come around a little bit. I don't think he's.
Right. Well, are you playing tonight, Abreu? Are you afraid of facing him if you're the pitcher? Right now, we're not, right?
No, I'm not afraid of facing him, but he doesn't strike out a ton. So I don't know. Like, no, I'm not picking on Castillo. I mean, it could work out, but that's not the spot I'm going to. If I was max entering, I would have a couple.
By the way, TJ did drop his first Spidey Bomb in chat. Matt Olson I'm not going to give him a hard time for going chalky. That's really chalky. But the more he gives, the more likes, the more Spidey bombs, the more ambitious he becomes. So Matt Olson, first one out the gate. All right. By the way, that part in chat was talking about how he plays. He's going to be joining you over there on Yahoo. I know you play a fair bit on Yahoo, Kirkwood. He says he's been smashing, does not plan on stopping. He doesn't have the sack to put more than one entry into these tournaments, though. But you tend to just make one entry as well, right? Sometimes.
Yeah,
like in a billion contests.
Like if their contest was bigger, it's been smaller. I would max it, but I've just with the kid now and stuff, I just haven't had the time to really.
Kirkwood, give me the summary. Give me the summary as far as pitchers.
Pitchers is wide open. My lineup is going to have Fried, Sale. I get it if you don't want to play Fried. Not a huge, massive strikeout guy. I think Luis Castillo is a fine play. I think Corbin Burns is a very good play. I think Jordan Montgomery is a good play. I think Christian Javier is a good play. I really like Senga. Especially at the over, he's a little bit overpriced. I think this is a good spot for him, and I don't, I'm going to put my faith in him that he's going to have his control back. He's got like this good fork ball, which hasn't been working yet, but there's talent there. He's gonna be all right. So I'm on board with him. We haven't hit any, and Josiah Gray is the lowest I'll go. You can go down to like Sean Manaea. I get it, but I won't be. But it's the Brewers have really struggled against left-handed pitching, and they do strike out a bunch. So that's my pitcher pool. But yeah, the guy I think like I said, I think Sale's going to put it together and have a big spot, big start tonight. But I'll probably play a lineup with Philly as a little bit of a hedge.
Maybe I didn't clarify that, but I was talking Matt Olson. Like TJ says, Matt Olson is not chalky. 6% owned on FanDuel, 7% on DK. He's chalky to homer, is what I should have said. And that's what we're talking about with the Spidey bombs. You're talking specifically about home runs, and he's plus 310 in the FanDuel Sportsbook. So he's not like plus 500, plus 600, plus 700, nothing like that. He's one of the guys that are more likely to homer. So, yes, he's not the most heavily owned player. That's only because of salary. We do a little over salary cap, and he's quite expensive. But, if we're going to have a draft on who's going to hit a home run in this slate, Matt Olson is, a first rounder, right? Chop, anything else to add as far as pitchers?
Nope. Move on.
But to that part, keep it going on Yahoo. Build that bankroll up on Yahoo. Go for it.
Is that how you built your bankroll initially, or no? Or maybe not. I'm not sure, but I know you. I feel like you've been playing. You speak for yourself.
No, I left. I stopped playing DK and went to Yahoo because of Rake, and like I did like this all the calculation on Rake and everything, and then I started just absolutely crushing over there, and I was like, what? And then you get to a point again where it's like, no, well, if I want to make a big score, I got to play the tournaments on DraftKings, FanDuel, or, but it's like, it's the bread and butter every single day over there.
So if you don't want to mess with Yahoo, you don't want to mess with DK.
I'm getting really sick of the brain dead. I'm just going to play the bad optimal I'm like, there's so many people who've come over and done that it
take advantage of that though.
I've beaten the optimal for a year. I've got all my numbers on that, but but it sucks when they're running good, and they're all the same. But like, they don't understand how it affects other people joining contests. It's like a whole different animal. It's like grow a pair and make some plays,
So the number one projected about optimals like heavily owned, and like the difference between 1 and 2 is what, like 0.2 points or 0.3 points or something like that.
I mean, that's great. Like Blender always talks about like how playing 3-mans and 5-mans and so winner take all and stuff, and how just be like exploit the hell out of that when everyone you just got to beat one lineup.
Yeah, you got like a 4v4, right? Your projection is like 1 point lower, and you're facing like a lot of dupes. It's a really interesting. He's talked about that before on his early show, and I know he's talked about that with me.
That's like DFS 101. That's like DFS 101. Yeah. Like that's what everybody should be doing.
If you don't want to play against a bunch of people that are just firing up Derek Carty's the bat, what you can do? You can play on Stat Hero. Stat Hero, what's Stat Hero? It's a unique fantasy sports platform that you already know and love that allows users to compete against the house instead of other players in a contest you're not competing against. Kirkwood or Head Chopper or those hanging out in chat. Their Searing 12 contest, it's over, but the Searing 15 contest for the NBA playoffs and the Searing 20 contest for MLB Pick'em, they're just getting started. Join this free and play contest and win to start your streak. Keep your streak alive by playing each and every day. Build your streak. Win prizes with consecutive wins, including swag, RotoGrinders Premium, and the cash prize, $10,000 first place prize for the Searing 15 and a $20,000 first prize for the Searing 20. Promo code GRINDERS, 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 50% deposit bonus up to $250. Jump in and play at Stat Hero. All right, Chop.
Fun, Dean. It's fun.
Yeah,
Stat
there you
Hero's
go.
Fun, man. Stat Hero's fun, man.
Have you been playing? Well, if you're trying to win RG swag, you can a guy you can get it without actually getting yourself a consecutive win streak.
I'm actually trying to sell my RG swag. I got so much of it, Dean. I'm trying to take it out to my garage sales and get a few bucks for it, man.
Wasn't Dan Bach busted for selling some RG shirts at his garage sale before he moved to Nashville?
He was. That's correct.
What is the going rate for the like a RotoGrinders t-shirt?
I don't even know. My last garage sale, I had a $3 tag.
You gotta ask Britt Devine. You gotta ask Britt Devine that question.
There you go.
Why is he is he a garage sale specialist? A savant?
I just have this one. No, he's just a hoarder. Like I just remember this look. He was like when we were all at the RG party one year, and he's like, "Oh, you stock up on t-shirts, man. This is your time." He had like this whole like.
Britt likes anything free. He loves a deal. He likes free stuff. Yeah. He
definitely saw him traveling back. Yeah. We saw him in the airport in the train. He had like a whole separate like bag of like RG gear, like running.
All right. So let's talk about stacks. If you look at the power rankings, myself, Chris Kirkwood, who's right here, Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, STL Cards, we all ranked. Oh, it's funny. I was wondering where Cards put the Cardinals, and he put him last amongst us because every single day he's tweeting about how miserable the Cards are. They're just ruining his life. But they're facing a lefty today, not a very good lefty. We have Kansas City number 1 in our consensus rankings. There's no obvious. KC number 1, St. Louis number 2, Mets, Angels, Atlanta. Little shout out from Oakland from you, Kirkwood, and then Arizona. Shout out from SGL Cards. I'll go to you first, Kirkwood. You have the Royals first, and I assume you're also factoring in price, and maybe you probably ranked that before Witt was scratched. Does that change things for you, or are you still on KC?
I went in an updated ranks, but I forgot to update that. It does bring it down a little bit, but it doesn't really matter. It definitely lacks, he's obviously the home run upside and stolen base upside, so it does take some out of it. I still think I prefer them more as like a secondary stack now, like just fill in with that because they're cheap, and plus you got, Vinny P. It's Fettuccine Friday. So, yeah, it's tough to not click that name on Fettuccine.
Do we have an official iteration for Wednesday? We try to figure it out. What's the Wednesday?
It's Prince Spaghetti. Wednesday is Prince Spaghetti Day. I told you that. That's the biggest of them all. That's
not good enough for me.
Well, because you don't live out here. Like it's not.
Does Bobby Gomes celebrate that in his restaurant or no?
Of course, the whole everyone knows Wednesday's Prince Spaghetti Day, but just like it wasn't Patty the Tooth isn't good enough for you. Like who made you boss of all this stuff? Like it's an official nickname.
It's not an official nickname.
But just give in and like you gotta go with the people, sometimes, and just can't be fighting this fight like you're fighting off all the people who complain about their bets on Twitter.
I love those people. They bring me so much joy. They're all so clueless, and one knows less than the next person. They're all arguing with each other. It's one of my favorite things to do. Like whenever some player gets injured, I'm not rooting for him to get injured, but like the silver lining is to go on Twitter and you read the mentions to like DK Sportsbook and Fanduel Sportsbook, and the people are so clueless with the things that they're saying. It's just wild stuff. But
Dean, you have to admit there's some coincidence there. Some coincidence.
Oh, here we go. Do I need to get my Tim Buell hat? What are you suggesting that the books?
They called in the Jock Peterson. Make sure Jock Peterson doesn't homer.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's happening, Dean, but that's some coincidence, man.
Wait, what's
Giannis is the special. Oh, Giannis goes down in first rotation with a back injury. He's out for the game. That's a coincidence, man.
Yeah, get Jason Tatum was the special last Celtics game, and the Celtics dominated, and he
got in foul trouble.
Worst game he's ever played. I mean, some people say they make the calls.
Yeah, I mean, they're making billions of dollars, but let's make a few extra $100 more just for fun from the sports books. That makes a lot of sense, risk versus reward wise. When you really think about it, it makes no sense, obviously. And I know you guys don't buy this either, but you're just placating the people out there with their ridiculous takes. But you're not gonna set me off. It's Friday. I mean, I'm enjoying myself. It's been a good day.
What's Dean having for dinner? What's Dean having for dinner tonight? Friday night.
I don't.
Baseball, basketball on. What's Dean having for dinner?
I don't know. I know like a wrap. I'm not sure.
Wrap?
What?
What am I supposed to?
You live alone right now?
Yeah.
What's in your fridge right now?
I mean, there are items, beverages. I don't know. There's nothing exciting. It's pretty standard,
Wraps.
like a turkey and cheese wrap. What's wrong with that? Is that not acceptable?
So what do you?
I don't understand what the issue is.
You had some wraps. So I mean, but that's a lunch.
Yeah, that's lunch, Dean. That's not a dinner.
Well, what do you mean? It's just you can't. You can eat it at 1 o'clock, but you can't eat it at 6 o'clock. I don't understand.
Pretty much. I mean,
I don't understand that
here. You got to have standards, Dean.
What are you guys eating?
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do with what do you do?
Do you do chips with the wrap, or what do you do? What it's just
a
wrap? Or what do you usually do?
I mean, there's no set to
because if you're doing chips with the wrap, you're having lunch, not dinner. But if you do French fries with the wrap, now you kind of turned it into almost now you turned it into a dinner. Yeah,
I do like baby carrot sticks. Yeah. Well, Chop, they're asking about. There's some good Tex-Mex around your area, right? You're in San Antonio. Producer Steve's pointing out that it's Cinco de Mayo. Is that what we're doing tonight?
I don't know.
Are you at the Mecca basically of Tex-Mex, at least in America?
I like it. It's great food. It's Friday night though. I don't know if I could have Tex-Mex tonight. Friday night. Sometimes, guy like the Chop Man gets a little lucky on Friday night, if you know what I mean. I don't need to have that Mexican food in my belly at midnight tonight. So, I think I'll probably stick to something else tonight.
But you're definitely going to have your second dinner cereal, right?
Again, Dean, Friday night is an exception to the cereal rule. I kind of want to be running on empty there at about midnight. I don't want to be loaded down, Dean. I need to be nimble.
All right,
later in the
night. Be in playing shape.
What about out? Do you have a snack after?
There is no after. Is all pure sleep, man. Just sleep. That's right. Roll over and go to bed. Time to go to bed.
Lunchable bologna. Bologna is so gross. I can't imagine. And seriously, you're not eating Lunchables when you're over the age of like 15, right? When was the last time you purchased Lunchables? You got to do it for a child. You have to show ID that you're under 24 years old. I think or you have to show a picture of your kid. I think you can't buy Lunchables as an adult, right?
Dean, I hate to say this, man, but there was a point in time in life when I did not have the budget I have now, and I was single and I was broke and I was struggling, Dean. And I would go down to the local store across the street from the place I was working at, and grocery store, and I'd walk in there at lunch with like $2 in change, and I'd get 2 Lunchables, and that would hold me over till dinner, Dean. You got to get by, Dean. Not everybody's wealthy like you, man, born with a silver spoon in their mouth.
Yes. I've been there too, by the way. But I'll just have like ramen or something like that. I'm not having bologna. I'm not stooping to bologna. That's not in the power rankings of meat. Like bologna's dead last. No? Feel free to chime in, Kirkwood. I don't know, but we should get the stacks and things of that sort as well.
Keep going.
Okay. Yeah. I guess I didn't realize anti-bologna was a strong take, but I guess it was, I suppose. But let's Choppy, your favorite stacks. We kind of talked to Kirkwood about it very briefly. Your fried bologna. I've never had fried bologna. You fry anything, it's kind of a cheat code, so that doesn't count. Is Spam worse than bologna? It might be. I'm not really sure. Maybe Chop can chime in on that. But Chopper, your favorite stacks tonight? Who's doing it for you this evening?
I would say right now I'm eyeballing Kansas City. I like Kansas City in this matchup against Mueller. who has not impressed just yet, not striking anybody out, and still a young guy. So I can get behind Kansas City. I like the Mets. Dean, and that's a great segue right there, Dean. I do like the Mets for obviously the matchup is fine. The team is good. It's also probably the best overall BVP tonight for the Mets as a team. So that leads me to my BVP play of the night, which is Starling Marte. So I'm going to give me some Starling Marte in there.
30, 40 at-bat sample. It's got to be at least 30 or 40 at-bats, right?
It's 11, but I like the numbers I'm seeing in those 11 at-bats. So I'm going that route. I'm also, like Kirk already said, Atlanta against Dean Creamer is like a walk in the park. Let's just load up on them. And then I'll throw one out there, Dean, under the radar. Like, I don't think they'll be a popular team at all. I gave you, what was it, the team on Tuesday that was under the radar. You laughed at it and just went on to the next subject. They hit some home runs that night. They were pretty good. But tonight, kind of like Texas against Tyler Anderson. So I'm going to be going that route. Yeah,
That's a good one. Cheese is all over Anderson. That's a good one.
I think he was better. He was better his last start. Before that, though, like he had that luck. I don't know if last year was lucky or not. Well, I guess it'll all play out. But he's had one like good year in his career, so I'm not willing to like crown him yet. And he's a left-hander. Texas has some guys in that lineup that I really like against left-handers. So I can do me some Texas under the radar.
You like Young and Semien, I presume, the two best ones?
I gotta interrupt and stop the show. You see that one of our coworkers wrote?
No.
Chops an old man. Like, you know what, TJ, come on. What are you doing? He comes in.
Who wrote that?
TJ. And then he's just LMAO. Like he's laughing at the fact you're old.
He comes in and takes away Chop's BVP with his Spidey bombs. And now he calls him an old man, like what? Like a coworker. You'd think like we have each other's back. Yeah, exactly. Too comfortable. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Man,
that's pretty harsh.
I'm sorry to bring it up. I know it's sick. It's sickening to me, so that's why I had to say something here. But sorry you had to go through that. Yeah.
That's nuts, man. That's nuts. Ridiculous.
Chop, are you going to be able to, if you can't continue, if you have to step away for the last 15 minutes or so, I understand, but you think you can power through and just kind of like block that out for the time being?
I probably have more testosterone racing through my blood veins than TJ does, and I'm about 20 years older than him, so I'm okay with it.
You're going to need that tonight, though, my understanding of your plans this evening, so you will use that accordingly. Who are the people throwing out here in chat as far as the potential? Angels. By the way, you mentioned Kirkwood. You're talking about that Cheese, and he'll be on in 15 minutes. He says he's all over Anderson. I read his article too, and I think the point he was making, I don't want to misquote him, and he'll speak for himself, is he just likes Anderson more than Minaya, and they're basically the similar price, and as like a pivot away from Minaya. And he was writing it from a perspective he thought Minaya was going to have a ton of ownership, or a fair bit of ownership, which he is, like around 20% or so. So I don't know how much he loves him, but I think his point he was making is he likes Anderson more than Minaya.
All right.
He's also expecting
maybe Love was a bit overboard.
Weather-wise, by the way, we have Roth coming on.
I thought it was a spicy call. Is all I was saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay picking at Anderson on the slate. I have no issues with it. And those Texas guys are probably going to be
overpriced. Adolis Garcia overpriced on every site is a great play, I think, tonight. The Cuban Missile.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that nickname before. I'm not sure if it's an official one. We're not really sure what we're getting. What's his price? Yeah, 5.7. It does seem a bit cheap. Even that expensive. Semien's a little heavily priced as well. You can play some Robbie Grossman, but that's not a lot of fun. He's there though. If you want to stack it up.
Right. I think that's the whole thing, Dean. Is so Lowe, Garcia, Young, and Heim are all solid, right? Semien, by the numbers, I think he's good, but by the numbers, he's like not as good as those other guys against lefties. And Grossman, if he ends up in the second spot there in the batting, he doesn't chase. His chase rate is really low. Huh?
He's there. The lineup's out.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to refresh. Okay, so he doesn't chase, and what is Tyler Anderson going to do? Like, he needs to get guys to chase that old weak stuff he's got. So I feel good about that. I feel decent about that stack. Let me refresh my my plate IQ.
Several people in chat, including TJ, are touting up the Dodgers, picking on Former Dodger, Yu Darvish, he had a cup of coffee there, right? Did he get his face punched in the playoffs for the Dodgers? I feel like that happened. Am I making that up? I think that happened. Betts, Freeman, Will Smith, Muncy, Hayward, Outman, Vargas, Peralta, and Miguel Rojas. Obviously, a pretty good collection. The top half is pretty solid as well. I don't really want to pick on Darvish too much, but I don't hate it either. Certainly, they can get to him. Kirkwood, where do you have the Dodgers? How much are you prioritizing them?
Not at all, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously, this is you could unravel. I mean, but he also could pitch very, very well. He's not a pitcher I really want to pick on too much. I don't know what the hell Jason Hayward is doing this year, but I think James Outman is not good. I think everybody's like he had a couple of hot. I don't think he's very good. I think he's had a couple of hot weeks, and everyone's crowning him like he's this great, and now he's coming back down to earth. I mean, I always like the top. I love Will Smith. I love Max Muncy, Mookie, and Freddie, obviously, sure. But the rest of that I'm out on. But I don't know. I'm just not on them tonight.
Yeah, the Hayward thing, he's like in the top 5 or so as far as like hard hit contact though this season. I think that's what it was.
Okay, maybe I'm being a little hard on Outman. I just don't think he's as good as everyone's crowning him.
But I would just say, as far as Hayward, by the way, like he feels, at least to me, he feels a lot older than he actually is. He's still just 33. He came up very early with the Braves. I think he was like 21 or 22 with Atlanta. He came in very early. So, 98th percentile as far as hard hits this year for Jason Hayward. Average exit velocity 91 as well. So he's a little hard. My issue is I don't know how much I want to pick on you, Darvish, but like you can. It's not the worst idea. Seattle just came out, by the way. It's J-Rod, France, Kelnick, Eugenio Suarez, Big Dumper, Raleigh, Hernandez, Crawford, Trammell, and Wong for Seattle. Who are we waiting on? Giants, Brewers, Nats, Chops, Astros, and I think we got everything else. What else is going on in the chat? We still have 10 minutes or so. Those Spidey bombs are coming in. Just as long as y'all keep hitting the like button, TJ is lurking. He's also saying some egregious things. And, really coming at Chopper. Like, you can come at other people, but not. I mean, Chop's won $1 million not once, but twice, right? What's up with that? He's just getting too comfortable. But,
where's our producer at? Producer Steve. Well, you should have that little GIF ready to go where TJ falls back in his chair on the show that day. Come on, you.
I said that. I
that thing fired up by now, man.
Send him the link, and producer Steve will throw it up on the screen for the people. Yeah, I think I was on that show, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he fell backwards and had himself a good time. All right. A homer. You want to give some homers, Chop? Who's getting a home run today? Who's banging one out?
Wow, we're going straight to home runs.
Well, the people like homers. By the way, shout out to Dave Potts. Cheeseisgood. He'll be on in about 10 minutes or so. Somebody in chat mentioned it at the start of the show. He's like, I'm just here because Cheese is going to give some off the wall homer call. Yesterday, he busted out with JJ Bleday.
Best home run call I've ever seen in my life. That number one home run call ever in the history of RotoGrinders. It was his first choice. It wasn't like, I'm going to take him up high, him down low. He was like, give me one home run call. He said JJ Bleday against one of the top pitchers on the slate, George Kirby, who stunk. But
no strikeouts.
Number one.
2. Yeah.
Number one.
But Dave, for what it's worth, is a prospect. So it's not like he's a complete nobody, but it was still a very impressive call. It was a 1v1 trade in the offseason with the Marlins. AJ Puck, their closer right now in Miami, if they happen to be winning a ball game. Chop, we gave you some time. Feel free to be as ambitious as you want to be with your homer calls. If you want to be as ambitious as Spidey, you could take somebody the likes of Matt Olson, or you can walk the plank and go off the board. What do you have? Or you want to go and give us today's JJ Bleday? Who's that going to be?
So there's a lot of good candidates. The guys from St. Louis against the lefty. You've always got the Goldschmidt Arenado going on. The Texas guys we kind of hit up a minute ago. I'll go a little bit off the radar. Edward Olivares, batting second tonight. I like this matchup for KC. I think they get it done. So he got that. And how about the same game? Go Brent Rooker too, running back with Rooker. I don't know, man. Like there's a lot of options here, Dean, for home runs tonight.
Kirkman, I meant to ask you about that. Oakland, you had Oakland in their top 5. I think you're the only one that put the A's in the power rankings when it comes to stacks today. Yeah. You want to elaborate on Oakland?
Brad Keller. Let me pull up some.
So many walks. So many walks.
So many walks. And all of his curve isn't that good anymore. That's what he's kind of relying on. He's a very hittable pitcher. This Oakland bullpen is horrendous. The weather has been decent out there for like from a heat standpoint in comparison to a lot of these other parks, which is why I think you're seeing a lot. I think you're seeing a lot more runs in Kauffman because of not only is the weather a little bit better than a lot of the rest of the country, but also is the Royals aren't really a real team, a serious team, and their bullpen is horrendous. So this is a game that could explode on both sides. So,
by the way, not to cut you off, but to your point,
these guys are willing to steal. Yep.
Yeah, the weather edge is suggesting it's a really good spot. 90-game sample, 11-mile-per-hour wind out to left field, 73 degrees, which, like you said, I think it's hotter there in most places. In a 90-game sample, we've seen homers boost at 15.2%, runs boost at 12.7%. So, like you said, not the most spectacular of ballpark environments, but it is better today than most. And continue. I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off.
You've got Blade at 2K, Rooker, who's been smashing the ball this season. You got Ruiz, who's been swiping bags left and right. So, and then Loreno, is it Laureano or Loreno?
I think it's Loreno.
Yeah,
I hear it both ways.
Yeah, he's back, and he's got some upside. Langeliers, the catcher, has some upside. So I think there's it's sneaky. No one really wants to play Oakland, but this is a really good spot for them.
Yeah, and they're pretty cheap as well. Langeliers is 3.3. Blade is still 2K. Like you said, Ruiz leading off. Noda, the first baseman, is super, super cheap. You can stack them with two elite pitchers if you want, and it's not very hard to do. We did just get, I believe, a Washington lineup. Do we care? Do we want to acknowledge whoever's playing for the Nationals? Speaking of teams that aren't real teams, Call, Garcia, Ruiz, Meneses, Candelario, Smith, Thomas, Abrams, and Robles is the lineup there. We saw, is Minnesota not on this slate? They called up Alex Kirillow. Is that an earlier game or something? What is it? Okay, no, they play against Peyton Battenfield. Because I was looking for Kirillow. Okay, so he just wasn't in the player pool, or he's not starting. Okay, they did make the switch. We should mention Minnesota, just because this Peyton Battenfield is not spectacular. Certainly there's some boppers on the Minnesota side, namely Buxton and Joey Gallo. Correa's fine as well. Are they kind of lost in the shuffle here, Chop, as far as the Twins?
Yeah, I'd say so, because we haven't mentioned them, and yet they deserve to be mentioned. Battenfield is arguably maybe one of the worst pitchers on the slate, although he probably won't go that long. Then you have to face a bullpen, and you have to see all that. But yeah, like you said, so there you mentioned Buxton and Gallo. Those are home run guys. Correa can hit a home run. Polanco, very good. Max Kepler leading off, another guy. So I think so.
They finally built a good stackable, 1 through 5 is all the upside, right? And Gallo's always been down in the order. Kepler's been down in the order. And Kepler has not been great, but at least he's capable. And Correa just hit a bomb the other day. Buxton just hit a bomb. 1 through 5, a lot of upside there.
Yeah, so Kirillow is called up. Trevor Larnach went on the IL, but he's not starting. And Miranda got dropped down to the 8th spot for what it's worth. Spidey Bomb number 2 has been unleashed. We've hit 100 likes. Mookie Betts, Spidey Bomb number 2, picking. I was gonna make fun of him for picking in a really obvious name, but it's Yu Darvish. That's not that one's not super
What was Chop laughing about? What was the laugh?
I don't know. What's let me pull up Betts real quick. Oh, he's
plus
390. Oh, he's 5,400 on DraftKings. What was Olsen anyway? He's probably cheaper. Oh, he's 5,400 on. Way to go out on a limb, TJ. A couple $5,400 guys.
I think we got a Cheese and Cardi feud.
That was great the other day when Cheese and Cardi were arguing about Coors Field and team totals and things like that. It was a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed that conversation.
Yeah, but it's not. But it's it's Cheese is authentic. Like Cardi is like he's
What?
got to be authentic when he's doing it.
Wait, you're saying Cardi's not authentic? What are you suggesting?
No, he was one of the he was just like forcing it, like it was like, you know, like because of the joke of it and all. But like when it happens organically, like that's the key. Organically, like the way Chop stacks.
Chop, we running 1-1, 1-1, 1-1, 1-1 stacks tonight.
I couldn't tell you right now, Dean. I play it by ear. It happens organic when I start to build, man.
The best though was when Cheese was on the next day, and he like very, very subtly referenced like how like he was right without actually saying it. If you're paying attention,
about Blake,
just got a little bit of a wink, a little bit of a nod. It was pretty great. It's fantastic stuff. Who are we missing? Chat, feel free to chime in. Steer the conversation for the next 5 minutes or so. We have TastefulTides. Tim is coming in 5 minutes, as well as Dave Potts. Cheeseisgood. You have Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth. Nothing as far as I don't want to say that, but nothing beyond yellow, right? Nothing that's having me panic. I will drop this in the chat. Roth's weather report. It's yellow in Philadelphia, yellow for the Mets, green yellow for Atlanta, yellow KC, and green in St. Louis. Winds 10 to 15 miles per hour, a bit out to left, a bit right to left. That is my favorite stack. I am a glutton for St. Louis versus lefties. I know they've been rough this season. Their numbers versus lefties aren't that bad because they're the ones that knocked Mad Bum out of the league. They absolutely annihilated him maybe 2 weeks ago or so, whatever it was. So it's kind of like artificially supporting their lineups against lefties. I guess you make that argument. But stretching back to last year, they're the best team in any meaningful category against left-handers. I'm not afraid of Matt Boyd. I think the Cardinals are not nearly as terrible as they've been. I don't want to say they're due. I don't like to be that guy. But are the Cardinals going to be popular, Kirkwood, or reasonably popular? Where are they at as far as the power rankings stack-wise? Like, what's the most popular stack on the board? Or is it one of those things just kind of like the pitching where it's mirroring it, and it's also pretty flat when it comes to stacks?
Well, it is all pretty flat. Right now, our top stacks tool from RotoGrinders is showing 11% as the highest owned stack for the Royals. The Mets right there. So it's interesting, right? Like the Mets right below them. The Mets are in a fantastic spot, right? But the Mets haven't been hitting to save their life. Like they have been cold as ice. Also, we've got St. Louis in a really good spot against Detroit, who's another offense is cold as ice. I think the chalk is probably going to end up being the Angels when it's all said and done, because I think Bobby Witt out of the lineup takes a little bit of the punt. I think people will still play a lot of Royals, and it makes even easier to make them as a secondary stack now. But I think the Angels are probably going to get the most. Them and the Braves, maybe.
They're so cheap. We're talking about the Royals. The Angels obviously got to pay for the two big boys, but otherwise not as expensive. We do have the Crunch Time crew is in. We have Kevin Roth. We have Tim TastefulTides. We were congratulating yourself there, Dave Potts, to call him JJ Bleday yesterday. Well done on that. We did enjoy. We're lamenting about your little conversation, your little back and forth with Cardi. Those are always fun. Talking about factual opinions. I think is that what the gist of that was? That was good time.
I would not say it's always fun, but it is a thing that happens. Yeah.
As an observer and the outside looking in, it's fun. And Roth is like is like the referee. I think Roth enjoys it. He gets a close-up view of it. I like to antagonize and stir the drink a little bit. Not sure if y'all noticed, for fun, all in good fun. But Roth, do you like it when they go at it a little bit? It's kind of fun. Mixes it up.
I'm very non-confrontational, so I try to play peacemaker. But you got to let them do it a little. Like it's a little fun. Like I feel like it's in jest mostly. They don't truly despise each other or anything. I don't think.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, I don't despise. I despise a lot of the things he says, but I don't despise him as a person.
Yeah. So it's fun. Yes, it is fun.
When it happens organically, it's as good as content as possible. That's anything out there. Yeah.
Agreed.
Speaking of that, by the way, we have TJ in chat, Kevin. Age shaming, head chopper. Head chopper. He's coming for the king. Best not miss. We all like TJ, but this is frowned upon, right? I think it's frowned upon.
Chop is a young man. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Sickening. He might be saying he's getting a little too big for his britches, or is that? I don't even know what that means. That's something
What
that
are
maybe
britches?
Cheese
It's
could
just a
write.
saying.
Cheese could write about that in the musings and let us know what that means.
I actually would love to look into the history of that and share that with the people. Look for that coming soon to a museum near you.
I can't wait.
Is britches something people wear in Vermont, Tim? What are britches? You know the history of britches?
Yeah, he knows about them.
Why'd you say Vermont, Dean?
Maine.
Oh, Maine. Same thing.
I mean, this is like the 5th time you've done this. You keep saying
They're the same
Vermont,
state.
and you know what? I want to know what kind of wrap you're gonna have, because wrap is like Bush League dinner, Dean. That's the poorest excuse for a dinner that I've ever heard.
Dave, is it acceptable to have a wrap for dinner? Like, what? It's acceptable for lunch, but I was told it's not acceptable for dinner.
It depends on what you had for lunch, whether or not it's acceptable for dinner. That's the real answer.
All right.
If you
Fair
had
enough.
like a legitimate lunch, I think you're okay to have a wrap for dinner. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I was rap shamed earlier in the show. Was basically what happened. Like turkey and cheese, maybe some ham.
I mean, it's definitely not a fireable offense. I don't think it deserves to be shamed.
Fair enough. I appreciate that. What did you see last night in the movies? Did you go to the movies, Dave?
I saw the George Foreman movie.
How was it?
You know what? It was okay. Like, the story is fantastic. Like, the George Foreman story is wonderful, and they told all of it, but it's almost like they crammed too much in there, and you didn't really totally latch on to any segment of his life. So it was good, but not earth-shattering.
Yeah, he became world champ at like 44 or something ridiculous like that. He had like a second life, basically, right?
Yeah. There's a whole lot of stuff in there that I certainly didn't know, but it was very interesting.
Look at that cute kid.
Wow, look at that.
Good work, man.
Look up. Let's get him. Let's
Baby
go.
steal that. That's a cute baby.
Chopper,
Come on,
Kirkwood,
guys.
anything else with the boys? We ready to step
Yeah.
aside and make way for crunch time?
I got to step aside. I'm gonna go get me my wife. My wife brought home some dinner. I'm gonna go get some
Wrap?
dinner.
Get a
Then go drop a Spidey bomb.
Oh, TJ just said what did you miss the early bird special? I think crazy.
Was drop a Spidey bomb like a poop euphemism there? Is that I don't know what he meant by drop a Spidey bomb there, but I liked it. Oh,
Fanduel sponsor
What is
crunch time.
happening?
It starts now. You get Dave Potts, you get TastefulTides, and you get Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth. Roth, take it away.
right, good stuff. This show already off the rails. We're going to try to get it back on the rails a little bit here. Joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. One, Mr. Dave Potts, aka Cheeseisgood. What up, Cheese?
Yeah, not too much. Happy Friday. Big old, kind of weird, difficult kind of slate, but that's good. I like it.
Yeah. We like big and we kind of like difficult. You don't want it to be too chalky.
Yeah, I think it's fine when not everyone's playing the same thing, especially a pitcher.
Yeah. All right. We got Tim as well, aka TastefulTides. What up, Tim?
Yeah, it's definitely a weird slate, and I really prefer slates like this because like nothing really condenses too heavily on one particular offense or pitcher. So I think this is a really fantastic slate for cash games and for large field GPPs.
Okay. I have to do a tangent that literally no one cares about, but it's important that I get this out to the world. Are you guys familiar with Driscoll's Berries? Do they sell those?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
If they have a label on them that says seasoned sweetest, you absolutely buy that freaking berry. You do it, Cheese.
Okay.
It is like the difference between a normal blueberry, raspberry, blackberry, whatever, and seasoned sweetest is like.
So what does that mean? Like, have they put like sugar or something in it? Is that what's going on? Or?
It's just like they have decided that this is the best these blueberries will ever be. So they put like a special label and it says like this is the best it gets. And then it's like life-alteringly better than the standard fruit. So I just wanted to get that out.
I'm going to the store tomorrow.
But then you can never go back to the standard, Kevin.
It may be true, but I'm telling you, it changes your life like in a pretty great way, at least for now, because I'm still on the season sweetest high. I know that was a random tangent, but if you do that, it will change your life.
I'm on board. I appreciate everything you do for us.
I had to get that out there. Like, I can't believe how good they are. Okay, now that is out, I've been thinking about it all day. I wanted to get that to the masses. Now we can talk about baseball. And we do have to talk about weather a little bit, and I'm hoping that you guys don't hate me for it. There is a chance of a delay in 3 games. That is Philly, that is New York, and that is added to the list, Kansas City. That was the one where I'm hoping that you're going to say, it's all right. It's okay. Don't freak out.
Really, like pitchers in the Philly game are a thing. There's no pitchers for KC that we need. That's just hitters.
Great. Okay.
I'm kind of mad about the Philly thing. But...
Okay. I don't think if I were you, I would necessarily just fade pitchers in Philly. So, in fact, for now, I think you keep it. Let me just doing a radar loop here. I just think those showers upstream are probably going to fade just enough. I think it probably works out in Philly. Let me radar watch for another 15, 20 minutes here. I don't think I would fade pitchers in Philly, but there's certainly a chance of a delay. Same goes for New York. Same goes for Kansas City. As far as bats in Kansas City, stick with it. There's a chance for a delay, but any showers or storms will be moving. So it's not like it sits there all day. And that's the case in all of those games. The bats are fine in all those games.
Great.
That's it. And I'll give you an update on Philly in a little bit, but for now, stick with it. I don't think you should fade pitchers unless I'm sure there's going to be a delay. And that's far from the case there in Philly. So with that out of the way, let's talk about some of the pitchers. You mentioned the one in Philly already, but Cheese, kind of walk me through this slate or just the pitchers if you'd like.
Yeah, we'll just do pitchers. It is just probably the most wide open pitching slate we've had all year. It's this kind of weird sliding scale of the most expensive pitchers are the best pitchers, sort of long-term at least, but in the toughest matchups. And then you go down just a little bit and like the matchups are still kind of tough. And then the pitchers start to get a little worse. And then there's a couple of cheaper guys that'll kind of pop. And then you can go really cheap with good matchups with worse pitchers. But like you can do any price range and it's completely viable. And I don't think there's any one correct answer for any sort of build on either site. Like it's really open. So,
okay. How many pitchers do you have? Like I'm pretty curious.
I think I have 13.
Ooh,
which is easily the most I've had at any point this year.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's start over on FanDuel. By the way, I should add, FanDuel is our sponsor site, so make sure you're checking out the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're in a legal sports betting state, take advantage of their fantastic bonus offer. New customers bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions do apply. Cheese?
Okay, so FanDuel, we can have a little smaller pool, obviously, because one pitcher. And essentially, salary with the hitters is not really that much of a thing. Like, there's ways you can spend a few bucks here and there, but you can – the difference between like a $9,500 pitcher and a pitcher at like $10,500 is essentially nothing. So until you get to big gaps in salary, I don't think salary needs to decide who you're playing. I would still lean towards Max Fried in cash games. Like he's a cash game lock on DK, not at all on FanDuel. I think Wheeler and Castillo are every bit as good as Max Fried. Those are kind of my top three. I go Castillo first, Fried second, Wheeler third. I do like Corbin Burns on FanDuel because he is the most expensive and he's not been great this year. Like, I know it's a weird reason to like him. But even though the results still haven't been there, like the last couple of starts, his stuff is finally looking normal enough to me that I think he gets there. Not necessarily tonight, but maybe tonight. The matchup's good enough. So Castillo, Wheeler, Burns, Fried, and then Javier, I'm playing a little bit in tournaments on FanDuel, and then I'm punting all the way down to Tyler Anderson. We'll talk about it on DK. You have basically Sean Manaea and Tyler Anderson as cheap pitchers on both sites. I personally much prefer Tyler Anderson, but I wouldn't, yell at you for playing Manaea. I think the bat likes Manaea. So if Cardi was here, he would be telling you to play Manaea. But all these pitchers are just so wildly viable, honestly.
He would actually be telling you you're an idiot if you don't play Mania, probably. Or
Right. He would be. He would say
says
something like that.
Yes, the math says you're dumb if you don't do this. Okay, well, let's kick it over to DK. You mentioned you need 2 pitchers there. You mentioned
so things open up
a
a bit. So Max Fried is 8,200 and will be the chalk. I think that Chris Sale, he's in that Philly game along with Zach Wheeler. Like those are 2 viable pitchers in that game. So assuming they're good, I think Sale will get fairly chalky on DK. I don't really like him that much personally. I would lean towards Fried with Castillo and or Burns as kind of the ideal combo. I also have Jordan Montgomery on DK, and I'm playing Javier Moore on DK as well. And then the same cheap stuff. You can do Manaea or Tyler Anderson, maybe even Merrill Kelly. My preference is Tyler Anderson. But I mean, really my preference is none of them. But I'm playing Tyler Anderson. It's just kind of like this blind hope that the last start means he's Tyler Anderson again, which not that Tyler Anderson is amazing, but he's better than 6K. But the same kind of goes for Sean Manaea. If we get old Sean Manaea all of a sudden, then he's also worth more than 5,600 in this matchup. So they're both pretty viable punts.
Okay. Any other names you want to throw out there on DK?
I don't think so. I think I named everybody that I wanted to mention.
You named all like 17 pitchers that you have?
I don't know if I named quite all. Look, so Clayton Kershaw is in the pool. At San Diego at his price, he's not a priority, but he's in the pool. Yu Darvish is in the pool. Kodai Senga is in the pool. Merrill Kelly. I have just a couple of all those guys in MME, but not much. And I don't have any of them in my hand built lineups.
Gotcha. Okay, Tim, let's talk about what you're doing pitcher wise here. Are you also wildly spread out because there's a lot of similar guys?
Definitely on FanDuel. It's really a list of 6 or 7 names that are priced pretty much the same or within $1,000 of each other. That really is pretty difficult to kind of separate. Max Fried is probably going to be the cash game guy. Probably going to be the most popular, but not by a landslide. I love Castillo for tournaments. The only glaring difference that I would say that I have with Cheese is that I really, really, really like Chris Sale on both FanDuel and DraftKings. It's assuming the weather's okay, assuming, that it's all right to pitch him, then I'm going to be rolling with Chris Sale tonight. But that's just my personal opinion. It's nothing that I am, saying that you're stupid if you don't listen to me. It's just, I think you're dumb. You're dumb. Yeah. I don't think there really is like that type of guy tonight. Except for DraftKings in cash with Max Fried. I think that's definitely SP1 Fried DK. He should definitely be in your cash game build 100%. But SP2 on DK, that's a little bit of a different story. That's going to be kind of spread out probably between Castillo, Sale, and Manaea, depending on how badly people want to punt, because he's only 5,600 on DK. I think 7,000 for him on FanDuel is very, very viable as well. Because there are, we'll get to them, but there are a lot of bats. There are a lot of bats that I want to get to tonight. So I do want to spend up at hitting where I can.
Okay, well, let's dive right into it because you mentioned there are some bats. I've already got people asking questions. Esperin says, Oakland KC game stack, both bullpens are already worn out from yesterday. Why don't you walk me through, Tim, some of your favorite stacks? And if you can, and if it exists, tell me what the chalk is and then what you like that's not chalky.
So the chalk is going to be the Royals, and I would assume the Angels, and maybe some Mets also that would be chalky. We should talk about the Royals are definitely the team that's getting talked about the most today. And of course, Bobby Witt is not in the lineup. And I think that's a really, really, really big deal. Kirkwood made a really solid point in the last show how losing him makes this more of like a value mini stack instead of like a full stack. Like everybody was like, oh, we're gonna be full stacking the Royals. That was like where everybody was at. And then Bobby Witt's not there to provide that power and speed at the top of the lineup. And so now it's like that lineup just does not look nearly as good. But still, they're cheap. They have great hitting weather. The A's bullpen is absolutely atrocious. I'm just worried about, you can play them all over your cash games, like your single entries, whatever you want to do, but they're going to be highly owned. And they're not exactly like this powerhouse offensive team. So I would be just kind of paying attention to your exposures in tournaments because I'm worried that they're going to end up being over-owned. I really like getting to the Angels today. Dane Dunning has been good. He's not like a horrible pitcher, but I really like the prices of the Angels. And of course, it's Shohei Ohtani, right? It's Mike Trout, it's Hunter Renfroe, it's Ward. All these guys are really, really good, and they're our top stack in our top stacks tool on RotoGrinders, and so they're the team that I'm going to try to get to the most of are the Angels. And then, so yeah, I think that's covers kind of like the chalky teams.
Okay. Anything else that you want to throw out there that you feel is off the board, but you're on?
Well, it's definitely not off the board, but the other team that I really want to bring up is Atlanta against Dean Kramer. They're expensive. They're not easy to get to, but you can get to them. So you either need to punt to get, Shaw Mania at like 5,600 to get up to Acuna or Olsen or Riley, and then play some of the super, super cheap Royals guys. But I really love Atlanta today.
Okay. Very good. Yeah. I saw their projected run total was right up there, amongst the tops here.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Cheese, your thoughts and stacks?
Yeah, things got really interesting with Witt out. I don't really know that Kansas City's the chalk anymore. I know that Sal Perez and Olivares are the chalk, but I don't know that anything else is really the chalk. And so I think we're going to get really spread out after that. I think the Cardinals and the Angels are kind of along with those couple Royals, the chalk. When I started this morning, what I wrote in the musings is to me, Atlanta is the no-brainer best team on the slate, and it's kind of not even all that close now with Witt out, and they're not even that popular. And you don't have to play all their expensive bats in a stack. They've got a minimum salary rookie shortstop now on DK who's fine, and they got Rosario, Hilliard, Ozuna. You can play a value Brave stack and just play one or two of the big guys. So I just don't think there's that much. There's just not that much chalk. We always want to identify the chalk.
Yeah.
I think it's Sal Perez and Olivares, and that's kind of it.
Yeah. Okay. By the way, Robert says it says something about how bad a team is when one guy is out and everyone's like, yeah, never mind never mind that stack. That stack sucks after all.
Yeah. There really are two great hitters against lefties, and one of them's out.
Yeah.
So there you go.
That matters. Yeah. All right. Any teams that you want to name other, like you talked about Atlanta and you talked about KC, but what about something else?
Yeah. So St. Louis, the Mets, Oakland, mostly on DK where they're cheap. And then I don't mind some forgotten teams out west, Arizona and Milwaukee in particular.
Mm-hmm. And Cheese, is this one of those scenarios? You said you've got 13 pitchers. Is this one of those slates where you've also got stacks against those pitchers? Obviously not in the same game, but there's just kind of some 50-50s out there?
There's quite a few pitchers that I basically don't have anything outside of one MME stack. Most of the good pitchers I'm not attacking. It basically leaves half the slate for offense.
Yeah. Okay, very good. All right, well, let's go position by position. We like to go around the horn Then we will get to your QQs. I would ask that you hit us with a little thumbs up. This show is free content. It's ridiculous to have this much smartness, not me, these guys, for a free show. So please do hit that thumbs up for us. If we get views, our sponsor is happy, we can keep the show free. That's how this works. So make sure you're hitting that thumbs up for us. Cheese, let's talk about it. Let's start at the old catcher spot. Who do you like?
So I got two catchers that I just massively love, Sal Perez and Wilson Contreras. And I'm playing them both on FanDuel as well. Like, I don't even mind playing two catchers in the same FanDuel lineup where you don't need any. That's how much I like those two guys. I do like Sean Murphy and Will Smith as other spend up to be different. Langelier is my favorite cheap guy, probably everyone's favorite cheap guy. And otherwise it's just kind of whatever fits in the stack.
Okay. Tim, anything you want to add there, catcher?
I want to talk about MJ Melendez real quick, just as like an interesting pivot away from Sal Perez, or in addition to on both sites, because he's an outfielder also. So I just think that he's an interesting way to perhaps pivot from Perez and get away from some ownership. But I wouldn't get too carried away with that idea, just as like a little bit of a hedge.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. First base, Tim.
Yeah, so Shohei Ohtani is definitely the top first baseman on DK, but he is only outfield eligible on FanDuel, so I would go with Paul Goldschmidt as the top option. I really wanted to get to some Cardinals today, but then, Tyler O'Neill wasn't in the lineup, so that kind of put a damper on things. Like, lineups were kind of weird today, and they kind of took away some of the plays that I really wanted to get to. But yeah, Paul Goldschmidt, fantastic one-off or, as part of a stack. Matt Olson, it's got to be one of the best first base plays. Vinny P on both sites. He's kind of expensive on FanDuel, but I think that'll keep his ownership down. And then Pete Alonso. I was kind of thinking earlier today that the Mets were going to be a little bit lower owned, but I think that they're going to show some ownership. But I love getting to Pete Alonso today.
Very good. Cheese, your thoughts? And you're not too worried about ownership at a guy like Pete Alonso, right?
No, I think Alonso is going to be super sneaky, even though it's hard to call a guy sneaky when he's obvious, but I just think all the expensive ownership goes to Goldschmidt.
You don't think the Mets are going to be popular, Cheese?
I don't.
I mean, not like super popular, but you don't think they're going to be like a top 5 owned stack?
Not really. No.
No. Okay. All right.
I think so. Most of the players Tim named are the same ones. Like, to me, Goldschmidt is far and away the top guy. If we're just counting Ohtani as an outfielder, Olsen is next for me. Alonso is next. Like, those three guys are kind of my main three that I would like to target. Vinny P is good. I have a little bit of Josh Naylor. I like Joey Gallo quite a bit in that game. I think that's kind of it for targets.
No 2K Yepes.
I didn't honestly know he was on the slate. He's not on the slate on DK. I guess he's 2K on FanDuel.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see him in the player pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he is very playable at 2K.
Okay. Mostly I just like his name and wanted to say it.
No, so I was I had finished my FanDuel lineups when the Cardinals lineup came out, and I was working on DK, so I didn't notice he was there. I just swapped O'Neill to Carlson on FanDuel. So yeah, play a little Yepes.
All right, let's go to second base.
Second base, Kevin, you love it.
Whoa, it's the best. Oh, it's so good.
We do have, some okay plays. I think Ketel Marte and Ozzy Albies on FanDuel are a little too cheap. They're my two favorites. I have no problem going up to Semien or Betts. And I also kind of like Polanco and Jimenez. So that's relatively a lot of second basemen compared to usual. On the DK side, you also get Tommy Edman and Josh Rojas coming in at second base. Edman is probably – and nothing's chalk at second, but I think between Marte, Rojas, and Edman, I think that's probably most of it. But I prefer Albies over those guys. But they're all pretty close. You can punt on DK for sure. Matt Duffy will be in the KC stacks. Louis Garcia, I would play ahead of Duffy as a one-off if you're not spending up a little bit.
Very good. Tim, your thoughts at second?
He named every single person that I was about to name. The only other name that I would name is Brandon Drury for the Angels, 4,100 on DK. That would be because I'm just really high on the Angels tonight. So, and then Jorge Polanco also would be another really strong play at second.
Okay, let's go to third base.
Yep. Josh Rojas on Fanduel is 2,600. But the only problem with that is that there are these other guys who are, I think, better, who are just a little bit more. Like Austin Riley is only 3,000 on FanDuel, and that just seems borderline criminal. Nolan Arenado, I know that the Cardinals have been absolutely atrocious, but 2,900 is just too low. You could kind of pay up to be contrarian at the position and get to a guy like Max Muncy. I heard a little chatter about the Dodgers on the last show. I'm not really that high up on them, but they are the Dodgers, so you should always, maybe get some exposure if you're making multiple teams. On DK, it's a little bit harder. Those guys that I mentioned are a lot more expensive and harder to get to, but they're still great plays. I'm currently, one-offing Austin Riley because I can't quite fit like a full Brave stack, but he, still a great play. And then Hunter Dozier is 2,100 on DK, and he's going to be like a semi-popular kind of puntish play.
Gotcha. All right, Cheese, your thoughts at third?
Yeah, the FanDuel pricing at third base in particular, like you mentioned, Riley, Arenado, even Machado against Kershaw is cheap enough to play. Rendon, Rojas, and that's going to be, even Jose Ramirez is going to be a little bit sneaky because even though 3,600 for him is too cheap. So I would say he's my favorite. But all those guys are good, and you don't need to goof around with super cheap stuff because of that. Whereas on DK, like Rojas and Arenado are up near 4,500. The other guys are over 5. It makes it more enticing to punt with like Hunter Dozier or Garcia for KC. Jose Miranda is slightly on my radar as well. That's kind of it as far as individual names. Like I think there's enough to kind of wait on third base and see. If you have money, great, play Jose Ramirez or Austin Riley. If you kind of have money, great, play Arenado or Rojas. And if you don't, then just play one of the Royals.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Take me to short.
So with Bobby Witt out, I don't know if you heard about Bobby Witt being out.
Was the whole thing up?
I guess Tommy Edman is my favorite shortstop. And that, that's not thrilling. So on FanDuel, Trey Turner is 3K. Carlos Correa is 2,900. Willie Adames is 3K. So along with Edman, like all those guys are real close to me. They're close to me. I don't think they're close to me. I don't think they know who I am. We are all very close. They're fine. Lindor is fine to spend up a little more as well. On DK, Mookie Betts is an interesting spend up. I don't think Trey Turner is really worth doing too much with on DK. I like Edman even more, where he's only 3,800. So that's mostly what I'm doing. Paul DeYoung, 2,700. A totally fine punt at the position. And I think that's about it.
Very good. Tim, your thoughts at short?
Yeah, the only other name that I would mention that Cheese didn't name is Zach Nato, 3,200.
The Braves rookie. I forgot to mention that. 2K, he's batting 9th, but a minimum salary Brave on DK is worth mentioning.
Okay.
Yep. So Zach Nato for the Angels batting leadoff, 3,200 on DK, 2,400 on FanDuel. I just think he's an interesting salary saver if you're looking for some value at the position.
All right, great. Take me to outfield.
So yeah, Ohtani is definitely like I think Ohtani is the best overall hitter on the slate. I'm definitely
And
playing
in the
him.
world, right, Kevin?
Yes, in the
Yeah,
universe.
sure. Even
Yes.
in the world or on the slate, it doesn't matter. But he's definitely going to be on my primary team. Edward Olivares for the Royals is going to be the chalk. I don't know if that is really good chalk or not. He's very, very inexpensive on both sites. It's kind of up to you what you want to do, your contest size. I'm playing him in cash games, but that doesn't mean that you have to play him in tournaments. Acuna is super expensive on both sites, as he should be. But I think that might lead to a little bit of smaller ownership. Outfield is always so loaded, right? So it's how you want to prioritize your salary at the position, and also what you're going to be doing with your stack. Outfield is a position where, I always, or most of the time, want to pay up for. I currently am high on the Angels, so I'm high on guys like Ohtani, Trout, Ward. Those would be my favorite.
All right, great. Cheese.
I agree. Ohtani and Trout, I think, are the favorites. I think they're definitely the two popular spend-ups. Ohtani is too cheap on FanDuel. I'm not worried. I don't care what his ownership is. Like, it's not like he's going to be 50% owned. So I think he's good, borderline chalk. On DK, I'm not that worried about, like, Ohtani, Trout, and Acuna are all over 6K. So it's not like they're all going to get played a bunch, and they should get kind of split up. You go down a little bit to like Corbin Carroll and Buxton. They're fine, but not like priorities. Mostly because that 3K range where Olivares's bunch of A's guys are, Dylan Carlson, it's really easy to play at least one, maybe two cheap outfielders on the DK side. You can do those Braves as well, like Rosario, Ozuna, Hilliard. On FanDuel, I wouldn't mess too much with those guys where, you can play like Taylor Ward for 2,800. Again, I guess I have to go back and make one Yepes lineup because I really did not notice he was available on FanDuel for 2K. Yeah, it's the outfield. There's like 47 guys that are good.
Yeah. All right. Very good. We have run through some positions. We like to take some QQs, but first, the people are clamoring for home run calls. And Cheese, you have had some like off the wall names. I think you named the guy named Bidet last night, and he went yard. So I'm going to give you a second. I'm going to start with Tim. I'm going to give Cheese a minute to come up with something here. So Tim, if you're giving me a home run call, what do you got?
I'm going to go with Pete Alonso.
Okay, that is a good one. He can hit the ball quite far. He has a good nickname as well. Cheese, your thoughts?
Just keep the off the wall stuff going, I guess. We can go not off the wall because of the way the slate didn't say Max Muncy. Like Muncy. He's totally off the wall DFS wise. He'll be like 1% owned.
Yeah.
But yeah, Max Muncy.
Very good. All right. Morgan says, hey, did we happen to get an update for the Boston-Philly game? I stepped away from my computer. I did not, but I did intend to give it. And the update is, I don't think it's very likely there's a delay. And if I liked a pitcher in that game, I wouldn't trade it out for a chance of a delay. So if you've got pitchers in that game, I'd stick with it. Like, that's what I would do. If you want zero risk, then fine, pivot away, go somewhere else. I have no run first inning in that game. I hope they start on time. It's going to start on time. It's just, will a little shower upstream go over them? And if it does, is it heavy enough to stop play? I think the answer is no. And I think you should not bench anyone.
I'm going to roll with Chris Sale then.
Yeah, I think that's the move, honestly. And you got a chance of it biting you in the ass, but I think it probably works out for you.
There's a chance with that anyway because it's Chris Sale, so I'm really not gonna be worried about that.
Yep. All right. Well, I like that mentality. Let's dive into some QQs. We have a little more than 10 minutes until lock. First, Cheese, important. as you are an ice cream connoisseur, before we get into baseball, rank these Ben & Jerry's flavors. This is from Robert in the chat. Half-baked, fish food, and New York Super Fudge Chunk.
Yeah, those are three of the best. But we go in reverse order. The question is New York, then fish, then half-baked, but all classics.
And this is one of those times where you can be like Hardy and be like, this is it. You are the authority on this.
Yeah, and if you don't do it that way, you're dumb, and you don't know how to play DFS.
There you go. Oh, you shouldn't even be eating ice cream if you don't do it that way. All right, let's pull up the Discord. I love Cardi, by the way. The mocking is out of love. Let's see what we got scrolling up here, and I'm checking out the old MLB Crunch Time channel on the RG Discord. That's where all the cool kids are. Give us a thumbs up for all that content we're giving you, and we're answering your questions. Let's get to it. I gotta scroll a wee bit. Okay, FanDuel Cash. Cheese, I'm starting. Actually, Tim, I'm starting with you. Yepes Trout or Perez Riley?
Perez Riley.
Okay. Achilles says, hey, Kevin, can you ask Cheese what's the name of the 2K Brave shortstop?
Yeah, I think everybody probably had the exact same reaction as me when you saw the lineup and you glanced at it. You just assumed that the name was too long to fit the letter R at the end before everything, because sometimes names get cut off, and you're like, well, that's a weird way to spell shoemaker. But it is Schumacher.
Is it Schumacher?
Schumacher.
Yeah.
No, it's no.
All right. Okay, Shoemake. So there you have it. FanDuel, rank them, Tim. Arenado, Olivares, Melendez.
Right in that order.
Okay, very good. FanDuel Cash 3v3, Cheese coming to you. Baez, Olivares, Goldie, Edman, Yepes, Olsen.
Baez, Olivares, Goldie.
Okay. Cheese, thoughts on a full Cardinal stack? I do believe if I was paying attention, you named them as one of your teams when I asked you to pick a few more teams.
Yeah, they're in my top 4. So absolutely.
Yep. Bill says, doesn't Radar look as if Philly should be okay now? I think so, Bill. I think so. I think we're on the same page. I can't promise it, but I think so. DKG, what do we got here? Remember Matt Shoemaker, Dean says?
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
AKA he spelled the cobbler.
He spelled shoe more like shoe would be.
Yeah. Did they really call him a cobbler?
Dean did, yeah.
Dean did. I mean, right. He could like cobble together a solid inning. Like you could do a lot.
Yeah.
Also, cobbler, delicious dessert. Cobbler is like low key really good. DKGPP Tim, last piece, one off McNeil or Edman. Thank you, gents.
Edman.
Cheese, you know anything about the Atlanta rookie shortstop you mentioned other than his name? Also, is there a letter missing at the end of his name?
Yes, there you go. Yeah, I bet at least 60% of people had that same thought when they saw it. I do not know much about him. He does not look particularly great. Like you're just playing him because he's on the Braves and he's cheap. There's no reason to think he's going to come up and be fantastic.
All right, very good. DK single entry. Cheese, right back to actually DK Cash, Tim, Albies or Rojas?
Albies.
DK Cash, Tim, Beatty over Doja?
I guess so.
Okay. Ink Magma says Cheese, DK single entry GPP is playing Castillo, Freed, and a Brave stack too chalky. It sounds chalky to me. Is it too chalky?
No.
Okay, there you go.
I really don't think anything is too chalky to play.
Yeah.
And certainly not that, no.
Yeah. All right. Very good. One expensive outfield bat in DK Cash. Tim, you want Ohtani or Trout? One bat to win them all.
In Cash, it's Ohtani.
All right. Very good. Cheese, doesn't Luis Castillo against Houston make you scared? Does it make you scared, Cheese?
Yeah, but that's the whole point of the whole pitching slate. Like same with Wheeler against Boston and Kershaw against San Diego and everyone against everyone. Like that's exactly why we don't know who to play. So I'm going with Castillo because he's the most trustable pitcher right now. And the back half of the lineup is actually a fantastic matchup with a bunch of strikeouts.
I was going to say Houston's not the same team.
The last four batters are like legit terrible. And the top couple guys, other than Alvarez Tucker, all they do, like there's some contact, but it's not really much power. It's basically Alvarez, Tucker, and a bunch of dudes.
Yeah. All right. Matt Hack says, Kevin, is the Mets game okay to go? I assume that's in New York. Is that the New York game we're talking about? Yeah. Yeah, we're good. I don't see any issues there in New York. Which Royals right-hand bat should we be aware of getting pinch hit for if the game ends up being close? Great question from Jay Sams. Cheese, do you want to try to pull that up for us?
It's weird. Like it's such a strange little lineup. Like I'm going to just assume that because Bobby Witt is not starting, Bobby Witt is just not playing. And then I would say probably Duffy and Dozier are the only two that really have any pinch hit risk. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's it. I would not be worried about anyone else.
Duffy has a 34% and Dozier has 34% according to the bat. But that's just stupid math though. So
one of those guys, like Duffy, seems kind of likely to come out for Michael Massey at some point. Is my best guess. Mm-hmm. But I'm not certain that they pinch hit at all, especially if they're winning like 14-0, which is possible. Well, 14-8 actually. But
this is a great comment. If I saw Tim on the street, I'd say he looks like a chef. Tim, you do give chef vibes, and Kirkwood said definite chef vibes, and that is an absolute compliment, man.
A chef?
Yeah, chef.
I used to own a catering company, so I guess
there you have it.
That's possible.
There you have it. See, you basically are a chef. Where'd I go? Here we go. A shout out to Cloud, who says, hands down the best MLB stream on the tube. Thanks for what you guys do. Much love. We appreciate you. Much love to you. It's still got about 5 minutes for more Q. With the tube, I was like, are we on the TV? No, that's what old people. The tube must be something else. It's the YouTube. All of that went through my head in 2 seconds. FanDuel Cash, Tim. 3v3, Marte, Rojas, Carroll, or Albies, Riley, Rosario?
I like the second one.
Very good. Cheese. FanDuel GPP, you want Christian Javier or Kodai Senga?
I prefer Javier. They're both in that big, huge pool of all these guys are viable, though.
Achilles, FanDuel Cash, rank them Tatis, Carroll, Goldie, Tim. It's Goldie, Tatis. Yeah. No, it's Goldie, Carroll, Tatis.
I'd go Goldie, then Tatis.
Okay. That makes sense because I don't know who Carroll is, and I definitely know who Tatis is.
Carroll's fantastic. Carroll's fantastic, but I just prefer the other two more.
Okay. DK Cash, SP2 other than free. Tim, I'm coming to you for that.
I know it sounds super weird, but I'm actually going to go Chris Sale in cash. But if you want to go safer, I'd go Castillo.
Very good. B. Scott pointing out TastefulTides was the name of your wine and cheese menagerie, if you will.
Yep.
That's not the right word. We got 4 minutes here. FanDuel Cash Cheese. This one's for you. Oliveris and Corbin Carroll, or Trout and JJ Bidet.
Trout and Bidet.
FanDuel Cash, Bidet or Ozuna.
I love that we're just calling him this now. That's fantastic.
I feel bad, but it's fun. Hang on, I forgot the question. It was Bidet or Ozuna in FanDuel Cash, Tim.
I think it's Ozuna.
Jake Sutton says, why no Texas love? They seem like they project well. We like Texas, don't we? I like Texas. Geez, you like Texas? You like really. Texas?
Kind of like Adolis Garcia and Josh Young, kind of, but not really.
All right. Larnack was scratched in case anyone missed it from Chuck Deuces.
Chuck the second.
No, it's like Chuck. It's like chuck up the deuces. That means goodbye if you're chucking up the deuces. But I've actually never realized that that's like what he's going for there, and I like it. And he's not Chuck the second. Let's see.
You don't know that?
I don't know that. It's possible. If he is, then I like it.
Don't go telling Chuck what he is or isn't.
Yeah. John Hansen letting the people know JJ Bidet is going to clean up. That's funny. All right. More questions. No more questions. I'm sorry. Robert says we need Kevin's home run call. That is why we're all here.
That's true.
Can someone pull up like a lineup HQ so I can pick a random name? Like, I don't know who's who's hitting.
Where is there any really good hitting weather today?
Not really.
Didn't really look like there was. That's
I
really
like-
when we need a weather
I
bomb.
thought KC was pretty decent.
I was going to say KC and St. Louis are like the two spots.
Kevin, do you know who's playing in the KC game?
Is it JJ Bidet?
It is.
There we go. I guess JJ Bidet's got to be the home run call. Any love for Frederick Dute? Says any love for Kelly or Gray as an SP2 on Yahoo?
Where's Kirkwood? I haven't looked at Yahoo.
I have to go look at the
prices.
salary. I'm not sure what their price.
Rangers fan pointing out.
What were the names?
It was Kelly or Gray. Rangers fan says, doesn't Roth always pick Eugenio Suarez for his home run call? I do. Yeah, it's just a fun name to say. So I will pick him as well, assuming he's hitting. I have no idea.
As far as Yahoo, like they would barely be in my pool. Like I prefer Tyler Anderson, who's cheaper. So basically no, but I mean they're viable.
Okay, well let's say you had to pick one, Kelly or Gray. Who would you pick?
Kelly.
All right. Cheyenne says the Mets game safe. Yes, it is. I'm calling it full safe there in New York. A chance of a delay in Philly and in Kansas City. And in Philly, I think you stick with pitchers. And in Kansas City, I don't think anybody's playing pitchers, so you don't really care. I would stick with bats. Even if they have a delay, that game will finish. FanDuel Cash, we're just coming up on the lock here. This is for you, Tim, here. Fried, Duran, Edman, or Montgomery, Marte, Trey Turner?
The first one.
Is there multiple Durans, or is there only one?
And just so that person knows, I don't really like Duran for cash, but I think that Fried's the best cash game pitcher on the slate.
Gotcha. Hammer says, is Sale okay tonight? That question is essentially, is Philly okay tonight? And my answer is that while I can't promise you it won't be a delay, I would not bench a guy for the chance of a delay in Philly. I think you stick with it. So that's it. Edmund or Turner, FanDuel Cash, Cheese?
Turner.
Tim, favorite cash shortstop on DK?
Edmund.
Edmund, there we go. Hey, don't go anywhere, friends, because before you leave, we need to do a couple things. One, I would humbly request that you hit that thumbs up for us. It means a lot, helping to keep the show free for y'all for as long as possible. Also, I do want to say, we've got this new show going on. It is Will's Take Your Pick'em show. It's DFS Pick'em expert, leader of the Prop Shop Discord. You know him. He's Will Priester, a.k.a. The Chief. He's got his own new show for Prize Picks fans, for Underdog. A lot of picking going on. There's a lot of sites like that. So catch the Take Your Pick'em show live every weekday, 10:30 Eastern a.m. for an early look on the board of your favorite pick'em sites. You get expert plays from the Chief himself before the stats have a chance to update. You can catch them while they're hot. We'll also have guests on from time to time throughout the industry, so make sure you're checking that out. Brand new, it is right here on the very YouTube page that you are watching. So the move is to subscribe to this YouTube page, and then you will see such things. We've got private stat. Okay, hey, with that, I think we are good to bounce on out of here. Making sure I've read all my plugs. I think we're good here. So for Cheese, for Tim, for our wonderful production crew working hard behind the scenes, guys, we truly appreciate you. We do love you. We will catch you tomorrow. Hope you have a great weekend. Happy Cinco de Mayo. You have been crushed.